After 1,000 years of hiding, the rule of two finally achieved what Darth Bane had envisioned. Generation after generation of masters and apprentices led to one man, Darth Sidious. Born as Sheev Palpatine, he was the perfect Sith, patient, cunning, and ruthless. Everything the Sith had ever learned, every scheme they had ever tried, Sidious perfected. And with him came the final chapter of the Sith's rise, their rule, and ultimately, their end. Darth Sidious. Sidious wasn't just powerful in the Force. He was a political genius. While Jedi looked outward for threats, Sidious became the threat inside. As Senator, then Chancellor, he played both sides of the Clone Wars, orchestrating a galaxy-spanning conflict designed to weaken both the Republic and the Jedi. While everyone else thought they were fighting a war, Sidious was really building his empire. Unlike the warlords of old, Sidious didn't need armies of Sith. He didn't need holocrons or temples. He had the Senate. He had the Republic's trust. And when the time came, he flipped the entire galaxy with one order: Execute Order 66, the Apprentices of Sidious. To understand Sidious's power, we have to look at his apprentices, the weapons he used to reshape the galaxy. Darth Maul. Trained from childhood to be Sidious's enforcer, Maul was unleashed during the events of the Phantom Menace. He killed Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn, nearly killed Obi-Wan, and proved himself a brutal warrior. Though cut in half, Maul survived through sheer hatred, rebuilt himself with cybernetics, and later rose to lead a criminal empire. Maul represents the pure rage of the Sith, weaponized but never trusted by his master. Darth Tyrannus, Count Dooku, a fallen Jedi master, Dooku was Sidious's perfect puppet during the Clone Wars. As the face of the Separatists, he gave Sidious the war he needed, but to Sidious, Dooku was always disposable. He was a stepping stone to the true apprentice Sidious coveted, Anakin Skywalker. Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one. Twisted by fear of loss and seduced by promises of power, Anakin became Darth Vader, Sidious's ultimate weapon. Together they led the Jedi Purge, hunted survivors, and enforced the will of the Empire. Vader was the nightmare every Jedi feared. Their greatest warrior turned into their executioner. The Clone Wars, the Jedi Purge, the Empire. Here's how it all fell apart. Sidious orchestrated the Clone Wars by controlling both sides. The Republic used clone armies secretly bred on Kamino, while the Separatists fielded endless droid legions. The Jedi fought valiantly, but it was a trap. The war was never meant to be won. It was meant to weaken the Jedi and make the Republic dependent on Sidious's leadership. And then came the infamous moment. Order 66. Across the galaxy, clone troopers turned on their Jedi commanders. In one night, the Jedi were exterminated. Yoda and Obi-Wan survived, but thousands of Jedi, generals, healers, Padawans, were slaughtered by their own troops. It was the final move. The Republic became the Empire, the Jedi Order was destroyed, and the Sith finally ruled the galaxy, the reign of the Sith. For 2 decades, Sidious ruled unopposed. Vader terrorized the galaxy, crushing rebellions and hunting Jedi survivors. The Sith had achieved what they had dreamed of since the days of Ajunta Pall: absolute power. For the first time in thousands of years, there were no more Jedi armies to resist, no Republic to check their ambition. The galaxy belonged to the Sith, but as always, the Sith's greatest weakness wasn't the Jedi, it was themselves. Vader's redemption. Anakin Skywalker may have fallen, but a spark of the Jedi still lived inside him. That spark grew when his son, Luke Skywalker, refused to give up on him. In the throne room of the second Death Star, Sidious tried to break Luke, just as he had broken Anakin years before. But Luke resisted, and in that moment, Vader made his choice. He turned on Sidious, lifting his master and hurling him into the reactor core. Palpatine was destroyed, the Empire collapsed, and with Vader's sacrifice, the prophecy of the Chosen One was fulfilled. The Sith were gone. Balance had returned to the Force, or so it seemed. The Sith Eternal and Palpatine's return. But you know the Sith, they never stay dead. In the sequel era, it's revealed that Sidious had planned for his death all along. Through cloning, dark rituals, and a hidden cult called the Sith Eternal, he survived. On the hidden world of Exegol, Sidious rebuilt his strength. He commanded a vast fleet, the Final Order, with weapons powerful enough to destroy entire planets. Once again, he reached for galactic domination, but this time, he was opposed not just by Jedi, but by a new generation of heroes. Rey, the last Jedi, faced Sidious in a final showdown. With the spirits of all past Jedi behind her, she defied him, reflecting his own lightning back upon him and ending his reign once and for all. The Sith Eternal fleet was destroyed, Exegol collapsed, and Sidious finally fell for good. The end of the Sith. And that's how it ends. From Ajunta Paul on Korriban to Darth Bane's rule of two, from Plagueis' obsession with immortality to Sidious's rise and fall, the Sith spanned thousands of years of galactic history. They built empires, toppled republics, enslaved planets, and nearly wiped out the Jedi more than once. But in the end, they always fell victim to their own hunger, their own betrayals, their own ambition. The Sith never truly died because of the Jedi. The Sith always died because of the Sith. So when you look at the movies, you're not just seeing Palpatine throwing lightning or Vader choking generals. You're seeing the final act of a story that began over 7,000 years earlier. A story of ambition, betrayal, hunger, and pain. A story of the dark side itself. The Sith rose from exile, built empires, reshaped the galaxy, and fell again and again, until at last, the last Dark Lord was destroyed on Exegol. The question is this truly the end of the Sith? Or like always, are they just waiting in the shadows for the galaxy to forget? After all, if Star Wars has taught us anything, it's this. The dark side never really dies. Epilogue. Legends continuation, beyond Sidious. So in canon, the Sith end with Sidious's death on Exegol. But in Legends, the expanded universe stories outside official canon, the dark side doesn't stop there. In fact, the Sith keep evolving for centuries, twisting into new forms, new empires, and new Dark Lords. Let's take a look at how the Sith legacy continues in Legends. Lumia, the Dark Lady of the Sith. After the fall of Palpatine and Vader, the Sith weren't supposed to exist anymore. But one survivor picked up the torch. Lumia. Once an Imperial agent and apprentice of Vader, she rose as the new Dark Lady of the Sith. With her light whip and mastery of deception, Lumia kept the Sith dream alive in the shadows. She didn't rebuild an empire, but she planted the seeds of the next great Dark Lord. Darth Sidious, Jacen Solo's fall. Those seeds grew in the form of Jacen Solo, the son of Han and Leia, and nephew of Luke Skywalker. Jacen was a powerful Jedi Knight, deeply philosophical, always searching for balance in the Force, but his endless questioning led him into the shadows. Manipulated by Lumia, Jacen took the name Darth Sidious and became the next Sith Lord. Sidious believed he was saving the galaxy through tyranny, a classic Sith rationalization. He plunged the galaxy into civil war, committed atrocities, and even fought his own family. In the end, he was killed by his twin sister, Jaina Solo. His fall proved that even the Skywalker bloodline wasn't immune to the Sith's curse, the lost tribe of the Sith. But even as Caedus fell, another Sith faction returned, the lost tribe of the Sith. These were descendants of ancient Sith stranded on a remote world for thousands of years. Cut off from the galaxy, they built their own society, ruled by Sith High Lords like Sarasu Talon. When they finally re-emerged, they carried the old Sith ways into a galaxy that thought they were extinct. The lost tribe was living proof that no matter how much time passes, the dark side always finds a way back. Darth Krayt and the One Sith Empire. And then came the ultimate Legends revival, Darth Krayt. Originally a Jedi named Asharad Het, who fought in the Clone Wars, he fell to the dark side and reinvented the Sith. Krayt declared that the rule of two was outdated. Instead, he created the One Sith, a unified empire where all Sith served under him alone. No more master-apprentice betrayals, no more hiding. Just one order, one vision, one empire. Krayt ruled with lieutenants like Darth Talon, a deadly Twi'lek assassin, Darth Wirelock, his loyal vizier and voice, and Darth Neil, a Nagai warrior who became one of his fiercest generals. Together, they rebuilt the Sith into a galactic force to rival Sidious's empire, the Sith Imperial War. Under Krayt, the Sith launched the Sith Imperial War, centuries after Luke Skywalker's time. The One Sith overthrew the Galactic Alliance and even shattered Luke's Jedi Order. For a time, it looked like the Sith had truly won again. But like always, the cracks appeared. Wirelock eventually betrayed Krayt, other Sith rebelled, and their empire fractured. The pattern repeated: Sith rise, Sith conquer, Sith collapse. The final lesson of Legends. What makes the Legends epilogue so fascinating is that it proves the Sith aren't just villains of one era, they're a cycle. From Lumia to Caedus, from the Lost Tribe to Krayt's One Sith, the dark side keeps reinventing itself. It doesn't matter how many times the Jedi win. It doesn't matter how many times the Sith are declared extinct. In Legends, the Sith always return. So whether you follow canon or dive into Legends, the story of the Sith is the same. They rise, they conquer, they betray each other, and they fall. But their shadow never really leaves the galaxy. Because as long as there's ambition, fear, and the hunger for power, the Sith will always be out there, waiting.